mindfulness practices that are experiential and relational. And sometimes they're hard to quantify. So those who are engaged in these practices, like Fred, know in their heart that art is effective. But how do we bring others into this conversation? It's like what I hope to offer today is a broader way of thinking about integration in this context, not just as something that happens in a clinic, but as a way of understanding how we live, how we make meaning, and how we relate to ourselves and to others and to the world around us. So to provide context, I want to just mention a little bit more about where I'm coming from. I've spent over 20 years working at the National Academy of Sciences, and my training is in the arts and museum practices, but much of my professional life has unfolded inside a scientific institution. Uh, Living at that intersection between art and science has given me a particular vantage point on how knowledge is created and validated and sometimes dismissed. I've watched artists and scientists work alongside one another. Their methods differ, but their intention is often the same: to understand, to explore, to be curious, and when possible, to improve society, to improve the human condition. So our artists often begin with lived experiences, what they see, hear, and feel, and then they translate that into story, sound, movement, imagery. And scientists often begin with hypothesis and measurements. And these approaches seem as if they're opposite, but in practice, they are deeply complementary. There's a moment when artists and scientists are actually doing the exact same thing. And that's the moment of insight. That's the moment when somebody says, Eureka, what is this? Let's explore this. Let's dig into this. And that shared impulse, that curiosity, that openness, a willingness to not yet know. And I love this phrase. I heard this recently: willingness to not yet know. That's where integration begins. It's also where storytelling begins. And I know some people who are studying what has been termed medical narratives and the impact of storytelling on health. What their research is suggesting is that health is shaped not only by the biology, but by the stories we tell and that are told to us about our bodies, about our communities, and how we relate to that. These narratives influence our stress, they influence our behavior, they influence our mindset. So, an important question is, if stories matter so much, how do we know that they matter? So, in medicine, evidence often means clinical trials and biomarkers, and those are essential. I'm not trying to dismiss those, but when practices like art and mindfulness move into lived community settings, these tools alone are not always the right fit. They're not always the complete story. And this is where we need more integrative view of evidence, I think. So research asks what is generally true. An evaluator or evaluation asks what is here for these people, what's working for these people in this context, in this moment. And community-based practices generate what we call practice-based evidence, knowledge that emerges through observation over time, and changes in connection and regulation and agency in belonging. Fred and I have colleagues that developed a system called MEL, MEL, monitoring, evaluation, and learning. And I can provide more information later after Fred gets through about this sort of evaluation. But it's experience becomes knowledge through expression, through story, sound, shared experience. And that knowledge can then be observed and then translated and understood in ways that still honor rigor, different way of collecting evidence. So as we think about mindfulness today, I want to invite us into that same space of inquiry, not as experts, but as human beings, noticing our own rhythms. And to provide a framework, I kind of created this visual that I like to use to help me understand this sort of ecosystem. Imagine a small sphere, And that sphere is you. It's your body, it's your breath, it's your emotions, it's all the internal stories that you tell yourself. Now imagine that sphere inside a larger one. Let's call that one community. It's relationships, it's your culture, it's the shared narratives. And that community sphere can be larger or smaller. It could like be from your family, but it could also encompass all of society. It's like how you function within that that sphere, how the individual sphere functions within the community sphere. Now imagine yet a bigger sphere that we're going to call the environment. That's the land, that's water, this air, this ocean, that's non-human relationships that we have with animals and plants. It's living systems. Your health moves across all three of those spheres. They are interconnected and they're interdependent. So this is where I want us to push the way that we think about integrative practice, bringing many different ways of knowing together, our academic knowledge, our ancient wisdom, and to imagine stronger connections between us, our communities, and the environment that we inhabit. They all are interdependent on each other, and stories we tell help us imagine this connection. Now, this brings us to the term that I mentioned at the very beginning, ocean memory. The Ocean Memory Project, I'd like to share with you, is a collaboration between artists and scientists. And Fred is part of this group. And one of Fred's collaborators is this incredible marine biologist named John Bayros. And John has worked on deep ocean systems that stretch back billions of years to the origins of life. And I know Fred's going to remember this. At one point, Fred asked John, what is the relationship between our beating hearts and the ocean? And John was just taken back by it. He explained that the ocean has a pulse. So, see, he talked about deep beneath the surface, water circulates continuously, heated within the earth, interacting with rock, and rising back into the ocean. Currents carry that material across the planet before it sinks again. And this circulation has been happening for billions of years. And John described it as strikingly similar to how the human heart works, drawing oxygen in, circulating it, receiving what has been changed, and sending it back out again. For him as a scientist, he felt like this analogy was profound. So the ocean is not like a heart. The ocean is the beating heart of the earth. This isn't poetry later into science. It is science understood through relationship. And then another biologist in the group told us that every breath we take, every other breath that we take is connected to the ocean. So in that sense, literally, the oxygen moving through our blood is inseparable from oceanic life. And our circulation is nested inside a much larger circulation. And at that point, the question shifts from understanding to belonging. There is no real separation between us and the ocean. There's no out there or us and it. Our beating hearts are expressions of a planetary rhythm. Let me say that again. Our beating hearts are an expression of a planetary rhythm. So this understanding sits at the core of the beating heart, a concept and practice that Fred and Misha have been working on and thinking about, that lives at the intersection of science and mysticism, of different ways of knowing coming together, integrating into improving our health. And this is where mindfulness comes in. It's about tuning in to breath, to rhythm, to vibration, to connection. Shared rhythm supports the nervous system. Sound and breath create safety and coherence. So as we move into this practice with Fred, I want to invite you to hold this gently in your mind. Your breath is not just your breath. Your heartbeat is not just yours. We're entering into something shared, something ancient, something that's alive. Now, I've said a lot of words, and hopefully some things to think about But for this practice, you don't need to analyze anything. You just notice, just listen, and just breathe. And with that, I want to turn this back over to the voice that started us, Fred Johnson.
Thank you so much, JD. This wonderful, wonderful sort of feeling and understanding of being an expression of a planetary rhythm, and the work that I'm so honored to do with Misha around the rhythm of the beating heart. And so, if you'll allow me, I'd like for us to just take a journey together, to give ourselves permission to take a journey together. I'll start though by saying that as an artist who has been doing music and theater and really being engaged in the world of creativity for 60 plus years, my opportunity to be able to have a different language and a different understanding of sort of the wholeness and health and healing components that science can articulate to us in terms of what's going on within us, what's happening within our minds, what's happening within our bodies. This wonderful, wonderful, miraculous journey of being, living and being. And as a young artist, a young singer who, all of my life, the vibration of my voice has been what has kind of helped me to have my center, even in those early years of my life where, I was in the early stage, the first 5.5 years of my life being in, foster care and not having that sort of regularity of mom and dad and, brother and sister and family holding me and growing up in that. Creation gave me the instinct to feel the vibration of my own voice through just creating continuous tone and guiding me to move my body so I had motion and I had sound to be kind of my extended womb. Once I left the safety of my mother's space, my mother's living space to cultivate me, and I entrained like we all do in those developmental months before we come into the world. I entrained to the sound of my mother's heartbeat. And so as I have been given the opportunity to live into creating felt sense experiences for folks, whether it was in a concert or, whether it was in a sound gathering or whether it was in a sacred gathering, to be able to share heart and share sound with another in the hopes that there was a connection, that they could feel what I feel. Having the opportunity now to work with science and researchers and the medical community to more broadly acknowledge what I learned from my elders and learned from ancient African ancestry realities, that there's no separation between, using story to create imagination and using our voices to sing together and to dance together and to share the spoils of the earth, to eat together, to create a sense of community. And then to extend that into story and extended song, to recognize that what I had been feeling, what I utilized for me to find the sort of the center of my being through song and through dance and through movement, to recognize now that creativity is an integral part of how we ignite our humanity, how we come to know a connection. Everything is connected, but to know that connection through song or dance or poetry or going and seeing a beautiful image and, allowing our eyes and our minds to connect, to feel, that is a part of a health and healing process. I've gained so much from being given another or an extended language that I can connect now to my creative journey, to connect now to my spiritual journey, to know that what I have felt for so many, many years, that encapsulated in that is a connection to our hearts, our neurological system, to our vagus nerve, to our ability to enhance our respiration, that there lives this beautiful marriage between what goes on inwardly in these beautiful beings, these beautiful bodies that we've been given to take the life journey. So that, that old mystical concept of shortening the distance between the head and the heart, between creating the felt sense with the knowing sense, so that there is a greater and a deeper understanding, and that is at the core of what it is to be human. And so I invite you, if you will, to take the beating heart journey that we love to introduce. If it feels right for you to close your eyes, this is sometimes helpful. But I want you to give yourself permission to first and foremost acknowledge your beating heart, the rhythm of your beating heart. If it feels right to place your hand over your heart and just allow yourself to kind of welcome in, kind of celebrate and welcome in the acknowledgement that our hearts are beating, that it's our life drum, that it's our inner drum. If in the moment you can't feel the beating heart, it's there and it's happening. Just know it. It's kind of now we're going to combine our thinking with our breathing and ultimately with our voices. Okay? And I also would invite you to, as you acknowledge your beating heart, give yourself the opportunity to acknowledge this beautiful gift of the breath. So give yourself permission to kind of settle in here now and just take a journey with me. Allow yourself the opportunity. Let's take a journey together. And that journey begins at the beginning. Imagine, if you will, that when creation manifests that says, I want to call this little one into the world. And so two on this life plane come together and create that magic that happens here so that the calling can happen. And so your beginnings begin. And as your journey to come onto the life plane begins through the wonder and scientific reality of the merging of two beings, the way that you announce yourself into this living plane, the way that you are first recognized as a part of your beginning journey on this beautiful life plane, you announce yourself through the beating of your beautiful heart, your rhythm drum. As you move inwardly into this process of being whole and complete in the world, your first announcement is the beating of your heart. As your beating heart aligns with the beating of your mother's heart, and there in the beautiful womb place, you evolve, you grow, and you hear and feel the rhythm of your mother's heartbeat. What a beautiful, beautiful rhythm to align with as your heartbeat quickens, as you move and evolve into preparation to move into the physical world. There's the beautiful rhythm of your mother's heartbeat. Such a beautiful rhythm, and in fact, all of the great drum traditions of the world are based upon the mother's heartbeat. For we all know that rhythm that represents life. So there in the womb place, as you grow and prepare to move into the physical world, you move into position. As you move through the birth canal and move into the life place and enter the world, most people think that the first sound that you make is, but it's not the first sound. As you move into the life place, come into the birthplace, the first sound, the first beautiful melody is the beautiful song of the breath. And then you make that crying sound. And so now, in this beautiful journey that we take, announcing ourselves through the beating heart, living in symphony and in concert with our mother's heartbeat, moving in through the birth canal, moving into the world, you now begin the beautiful melody and the beautiful song that you sing from the moment you enter this beautiful life's journey until a transition point. And that, my great elders have said to me, is the beautiful song of the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And so our beautiful union begins there, my friends. The union of the song of the breath. When we talk about a journey of oneness, an opportunity to feel the experience of oneness, it's the beautiful song of the breath, that which unites all living things. Your beautiful song of your breath, coupled and in alignment with the beautiful rhythm of your heart. And so we individually are unto ourselves a beautiful symphony of rhythm and a beautiful melody of the breath. The breathing in and breathing out of the beautiful song of the breath, the beautiful rhythm of our hearts, keeping life vital and alive through our circulatory system, blood moving to the rhythm of the heart, life through the breath song, breathing in and breathing out, the beautiful rhythm of our hearts, the song of our being, the beating heart, the song of the breath. This beautiful symphony, this beautiful shared experience, that which unites all living things, breath, the breathing in and the breathing out, right? And the great elders have reminded me and guided me to share and allow us to remember that, the beings and doings of the world are only possible because of the song of the breath. So when we find ourselves caught up in the matters of being in the world, we can remember that the of the world is this beautiful divine connection, the song of the breath, reminding us that conversations and connections to concepts like spirit and spirituality come from the beautiful reality that this word evolves from the Latin word spiritus, which means to breathe. It means the breath. So the integration of the imagery, understanding, and connectedness to the beautiful moment-to-moment reality of our beating hearts and the song of the breath. And then, when we allow the beautiful connection of the rhythm of the beating heart to connect to the song of the breath through the frequency and vibration of our own voices, then we connect to the inner connection of all of our inner beingness. And so I ask you to give yourself permission to do this simple exercise with me. I want you to take in a breath and allow yourself, with your mouth closed, allow yourself to just gently hum. Ready? Breathe in. Oh, that's beautiful. One more time. Breathe in. The amazing vibration of your beautiful voice that adds now frequency and vibration, which connects to our beautiful vagal system, our vagus nerve, and sends the vibration of our own voice into like our inner chamber, the inner temple of our being, so that our nervous system and all of our organs can feel now on the ether of the song of the breath and the rhythmic pattern of the beating heart, the pure vibration of your own voice, which inspires the vagus nerve to bring forth nitric oxide that really helps us to heal, helps us to feel a sense of wholeness, and sends that pure vibration to the rest of our neurological system, allowing us to feel a sense of inner calm. This, my friends, the pure vibration of your beating heart, coupled with the song of the breath, coupled with the pure vibration of your voice, integrated together to give us a beautiful, beautiful journey that can be for us a center place of calm, an integration of the full measure of our being as we move towards recognizing and knowing that the vibration of our own voice, whether speaking positively or just feeling the beautiful ether of our breath, coupled with the rhythm of our hearts, is our inner song. And so we're given the opportunity through the understanding of these realities to combine science and combine the pure experience of breath, song, and heart to amplify and integrate together so that our life's journey of art and health, creative sound and knowingness and health can manifest a pathway for a greater sense of wellness, wholeness, health, and healing. Please take one breath with me as I finish. Breathe in, breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in, breathe out through the nose. Breathe in through the mouth, out through the nose. Breathe in through the nose and mouth, out through the nose and mouth. And know that the beautiful symphony of the beating heart and the song of the breath is a phenomenal foundation for us to journey from moment to moment. Thank you. Peace.
Fred, thank you.
Thank you, Fred. This was amazing. Well, so we have time for folks to ask questions. I see that Lynette has the hand up. So Lynette, let's go ahead and unmute you. And maybe you can turn on your video. That would also be good. There we go.
Yeah, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my question, I love the presentation, Fred, that you and JD made. It was so wonderful. I just, especially the last part about the breathing. But my question is, maybe to you, JD, or either one of you. when I go to the ocean and I go to the beach and I'm at the ocean, and at nighttime or early in the morning when I can hear the waves coming in, and my breath seems to align with the ocean waves. Is that because of what you said, JD, about our heart beating like the ocean currents?
I think that that's a really profound observation, and I really believe that. I'm not, as a scientist. My art background is in art, so as a scientist, I can't say for sure, but I do remember, and Fred, you may remember when we were in Friday Harbor Lab, one of the biologists said that every other breath we take is related to the ocean. So I think that there's probably sort of a spiritual, emotional feeling that you're having of being in that space. But I think that there probably is a physical connection in the sense that we are interconnected. I mean, it's like we're stardust. It's like if we're stardust, we're certainly connected to the ocean. So I think I can't answer that from a scientific standpoint, but I'm just really inspired by the scientists that we've been around that have been able to say, yeah, there's a connection. It's also, I think, goes back to the different ways of knowing. Can we explain it scientifically? Or can we explain this through maybe we're feeling connected with our elders and with people who've gone before us? That's a beautiful thing about the Ocean Memory Project is this collaborative of 120 scientists and artists. They asked the question, this is just a question of inquiry. Can the ocean be thought of as having a memory? And the scientists are saying, yeah, because we study the microbial organisms, and they act like neurons. Everything in the organ, in the dirt of the ocean floor are like memory agents, and they tell the story of the history of the ocean as well as how to take care of it, just like memory does. You remember things that guide your actions moving forward. But other people within the collective, they said, well, what if the ocean holds memory? Does the ocean hold the memory for the hundreds of bodies that were thrown overboard during the transatlantic slave route? So here's this wonderful question, this flexibility of this simple question of inquiry being taken to a lot of different areas. So I would say the answer to what you're looking at is very complex, because yes, I think physically you're part of that rhythm, but I think you're also responding to all of our ancestors who have been connected to the ocean in different ways. Fred, what do you think?
Yeah, Lynette, I mean, a lot of the foundation of the work that Misha and I are doing together is kind of based upon the medicine and mysticism of wholeness, health, and healing. And, my elders would say, when in question, go to the sea, go to the shore, and listen and feel the essence of the breath of the wind, the mist of the sea, and the combination of that, because there's truth in that. There's truth in feeling that. There are some things that are oftentimes difficult to explain, but not difficult to feel if you receive and open yourself to like the rhythm of the beating heart and the essence or the song of the sea, the song of the ocean. It's a really, really powerful thing. The medicinal essence and the mystical essence of breathing in and recognizing that they enfold themselves into a reality that is oftentimes not necessarily understood by the mind, but felt by the full measure of your being. It's like, our breath is an extension of the breath. For if there was no ocean, there would be no us. So to find those bridges and breathe into those bridges, many times, I had a couple of amazing elder teachers from West Africa who would say to me, well, I live in Florida. And so they would say, Fred, you have a great advantage when you can't necessarily find the answer go to the ocean and listen to the sea, and allow the ether and the essence of the elders to move into your breath. So yeah, there's a great connection, and one doesn't have to be one doesn't have to be diminished in order to really sort of feel the full measure of it. Yeah.
Another second question, real quick. You know how they say like the high tides are coming in at nighttime, and people feel it. They feel the high tide when the ocean and the moon and the ocean at nighttime. They feel it. They say it's like something that's pulling them, or they can feel it within their sphere of their body.
Because we are fully connected to all created things. We are fully connected to the full measure of that.
Yes,
You
okay.
know, you know.
Well, and to kind of, Lynette, first of all, I think that your observations are just, amazing. Even if we can't articulate exactly what it is, the fact that you're feeling it is amazing. But the model of the different spheres, our personal health is connected to our community, which exists within the environment.
Mm-hmm.
There's no separation. Just exactly like Fred said, we're all interconnected. But it's like to think about this ideal of integrative health in that context, it's like it's mind blowing, and it's just, and in some ways, it really, I think, empowers us to lean into, Lynette, your observation that I breathe differently when I'm at the ocean. That's amazing insight into your own health because of your connection with the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Dr. Kogan's the physician and is an expert in this, but I'm just asking us to sort of expand this sort of notion of, the integrative medicine is just not the patient doctor relationship. It really, if it really is mind, body, and spirit, it's really about looking at how we're interconnected. And Lynette, thank you for that observation. It's really brilliant.
Thank you very much. My background is in science, and I am a musician. So that's why I really appreciate both of you all bringing this to me today. So thank you both very much, and you, Dr. Kogan, as well.
Well, I
Thank
can
you.
add a little bit. There is an idea of continuous, I wouldn't say a pulse, but continuous rhythm through different organisms, right? So those people who are tuned into energy, particularly there's this field called craniosacral therapy, biodynamic craniosacral therapy, where practitioner actually can feel the different shifts in the body, which can be described as the energy waves. And some of that relates to specifically actual flow of a craniosacral fluid, but some of it is relates to purely energetic aspect. And there's an idea that the earth, the ocean, the organisms, they all have that wave movement, that energetic wave movement. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this goes quite far out esoterically, but there is a whole science at that level. Now, maybe certain things are not necessarily easily measurable here, but they are perceivable by our senses. And there's been healers for thousands of years who've been tuning into that level of work and operating in relationship to individual and group health out of that space. So it's a lot more there than our current allopathic model says and our current scientific knowledge says. And I think Brett and I also been on a long path of Sufism, and in Sufism, that's also quite heavily discussed and being understood and practiced, and so do you truly believe that can be translated into scientific knowledge? I think it can. We're just simply not at the point in our evolution where we understand it. But I also have a strong belief that we had cultures and civilizations on this earth back in the day that did connect to that, and they were able to manipulate it, and they were able to tap into it from healing perspective. And the fact that we sort of forgot that and walked away from that, it's just the way our evolution is at the current moment.
I agree. Everything has evolved because the civilization, ancient civilization, used the sun and the moon and the sky and whatever to determine their life patterns and cultures. We have so far moved away from that, we forget that how we once lived. So thank you all very, very much. I appreciate it. I love this very much.
Mm-hmm. So it's a beautiful short poem. Rona, is this Rumi or who wrote that? Sounds like something Rumi would say. Yeah, so that's what Jennifer said. I think this is very accurate. There's this universal rhythm, if you will, that goes through all of the organisms, and and even Einstein spoke about the single field, and there's a whole science. There's whole esoteric science about this, and I think a lot of what Fred is tapping is coming from that, and then he's trying to translate it into a bit more of a medical language. And yeah, I think this is way ahead of its time. Or maybe it's going back to its origins. So we just simply completely forgot all that, which is what I actually believe. I think this is something that's been understood by mystics for thousands of years.
Me
Just we
too.
discovered it.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of comments. Oh, yes, Janet reminds me that I should tell everybody that Fred is now doing weekly short experiences. We're calling it a beating heart experience. And it's on Mondays. It is posted on YouTube. It's not live, so I don't think that at this moment we're just recording and then we're posting on YouTube. So, but you have a full link in there, so please do check it out. Yeah, we still have a couple more minutes. So if anybody else have another question, or if you have a question about something else, please let us know.
Well, while we're taking a pause, I just want to give a shout out to somebody who's joined us in the room. Diana is the director of Leonardo, the International Society of Art, Science, and Technology. Hi, Diana. I have the honor of being the editor in chief of this journal that has been around since 1960s. So this conversation of looking at um, art and science and technology, that interface is important. And Diana and I had a wonderful conversation about just this idea that this area of art and health is moving so quickly and is so involved that we really want to make sure that the society and the journal have a role to play there. So thank you for being here, Diane. Thank you.
Janet also reminded me to mention my upcoming TEDx talk for everybody. So I'm putting the link. I don't expect you to make it or paying $150 to join me in Princeton, in New Jersey. But hopefully it'll get recorded, and well, it will get recorded and posted on a TED platform. So I'm in the process of preparing for it. So wish me luck. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the talk is about the fact that if we're not changing our processes as they are, in about 20 to 25 years, medications will be killing more people than any diseases we ever fought. So right now it's 250,000 per year, and the rate of progression is so that every 10 years there's rough doubling. So it means that in 20 to 25 years, we'll be killing about 1 million of Americans every year by simply practice as usual, prescribing the medications. So hopefully that trajectory will change. I do hope that my talk will, I don't know if it will initiate this. This is not a news to those who are following this topic, but hopefully it'll contribute to continuous efforts to try to keep our nation a little bit healthier and not as sick and not as medication driven. We are the change. I love it. Thank you. That's exactly the point of a TEDx, Diane, because I say that the part of the problem is not just, of course, there's a big pharma and the government and all kinds of misaligned incentives within healthcare, but the fact is that we are allowing pill for every ill narrative in our lives. And I think that has to start changing. We have to start with ourselves and say, I will question every prescription ever given to me 10 times. I will resist every prescription. And if it's appropriate prescription and it's really needed, there's no problem with that. The problem is that we know that at least 25 to 30% of all prescriptions are completely inappropriate. That's the part.
Okay.
I'd love to respond. And
No, 250,000 just in US. In the world, that number is somewhere between 5 to 10 million people. We just don't know exact numbers because they're very difficult to interpret. Because there's no direct reporting. US does not report mortality from prescriptions. So we don't know. It's the extrapolation from statistics and known prevalence of certain medications and known risks. It's not an accurate analysis.
I would love to just, Jennifer Lyman says, I do think some people have more sensitive receptors to all these different rhythms. And Jennifer, I would agree with you, but I think that the beautiful thing that we can give ourselves permission to consider is just sort of the perfection of this connection between the rhythm of our beating hearts and the rhythm of our breath, and being conscious of the sounds and shapes and things that are around us, and to really recognize that there's a beautiful opportunity, that there's a beautiful music in the melody of our breath and in the melody of our heart, and that when the chaos of the world kind of moves us away from that, there's this, of course, this philosophy that says you'll argue with what you know, but you won't argue with what you feel. And so, very, very early on in my life, I realized that whatever was happening, this was before any classes or any teachers, that, very, very early on in my life, because of my challenges, I realized that there's a still place, that there's a place that I can always go to. And that still place is just merely to give myself permission to listen to my breath and give myself permission to speak to calming my heart. And that whatever is going on in the world around me, there exists this beautiful perfection if I will just give myself permission to take a moment to listen to my heart and to listen to my breath and to feel the beauty in that and to feel the perfection in that and to acknowledge that it is a phenomenal gift. And I think we all can do that. If a child is excited, you say, wait, just a minute, just take a minute, just take a breath, just breathe, you take their hand and say, just breathe with me. You're okay. We need to be that for ourselves.
My point was just that people who have that special sensitivity can sometimes help us realize that we have access to those things too. So I think they're a bridge in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to be reminded. And that's where we can all go there, regardless of what we know. That old mystical philosophy of the longest distance traveled is the distance between the head and the heart. You know what I mean? You may argue with what you think you know, but you won't argue with what you feel. And so I think a part of the journey of the medicine and mysticism of health and healing in the heart is encapsulated in just what we're doing now, having the opportunity to say there's this broad spectrum. But thank creation, we breathe together and our hearts beat like many, many drums that can be a part of a beautiful symphony. And that's a beautiful opportunity that we can give ourselves in any moment.
Salome, if you were just asking for the link, I just responded to your question. Just put it up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rona, that's a good point. I mean, I think there are so many other cultural values that in a way are much more whole person or holistic that I think we can borrow from other cultures. And I agree. I think Fred helps us to link to those ways of believing and thinking and living lives. Well, we're right at the hour. I want to have a very special thank to Fred and JD. I do hope that we'll see them again at some point. But as again, we're putting it out in the chat there that Fred is now doing the beating heart, which is a opposite of Friday, which is Monday, every Monday, and everything will be posted out on AIM's YouTube in due time. Actually, it's getting posted right now very quickly, and I want to thank Stephanie for helping with this. JD, I think, has also been very instrumental in making sure things go well and assisting with that process as well. And hopefully, with time, we'll get more and more consistent. And we wish everybody a wonderful weekend. If you are my patient, you have something personal for me, please do stay. We'll have time for that. Otherwise, we'll see you next Friday. Yael Flasberg, who is our CIM yoga teacher, psychedelic coach, death doula, and many, many other hats. So she will be with us, and we'll see you then.
All right. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Oh,
Have a
and
good
yeah, and I have
weekend.